Hey guys, so I'm going to be doing a quick little breakdown on my GBPUSD trade from last night during London. And I have everything kind of marked out here already on the 3 minute time frame. And we're just going to stay on the 3 minute time frame for this example as well, because like I said, the 1 minute time frame can look a little choppy. And um, if you guys are confused based on that choppiness from last night, this will definitely clear things up when it comes to price action on the 3 minute. We'll just leave it here. That way it's visually a lot cleaner to see. So one thing that I do want to point out is I did get into this trade a little early. So my entry was actually right here where I had marked this horizontal right here. I did actually enter right here. And I actually placed a sell limit. So I placed a sell limit right here, and as you can see, I held a bit of drawdown, but nothing too serious. I have to see how much pips. Yeah, this was only like a 4 pip stop loss, so it really wasn't that bad. But the reason why I actually got into this position, this first reaction here, was because I was looking at this here. So I have my high right here, right? So we see our high to the left. So the reason why I marked that as our high is because what did price do? We went ahead and cleared liquidity there and we created our high, and we also broke structure here, right? And so after we broke structure, I saw price kind of push down, push down, push down. And then I wanted a quicker entry. So I was looking potentially at this POI area right here, which is also, it can also be used as an imbalance if you guys are familiar with imbalances. If not, it could have also been a simple break and retest area. So as we're looking at this, I wanted to get a nice entry there. So this is why I had took this entry right here. Price gave me a little bit of profits right here. And eventually it started creating very, very choppy price action. Going into the open of London. Now, what I realized was when price pushed down here, I originally thought, okay, we cleared liquidity from this low. As you can see, it's very small here, but you can see it. It did clear liquidity, and we went ahead and pushed up. So that was my first initial reaction to take that position, and why I did take it is because I did see that it cleared liquidity, and we also, broke structure, right? We broke this structure right here. So automatically I was like, okay, this is my entry. Now, this can happen a lot of times, and that's exactly why I say, it's very important to watch price action, because the market can do whatever it wants, right? Just because we have a nice probable setup, we have to understand how to actually manage the trade while we're in the trade. That's the most important thing as a trader, is to really react to how the market's actually moving, because you don't want to come into the market thinking that you're right or thinking that something needs to happen. Nothing needs to happen. Okay, the market is going to move how it's going to move, so you just need to take it as is. So when I did see that price push down and it again broke this structure here, I was like, okay, it broke. See, I'm not on the brush. It broke this structure here. I saw that, and I saw this low that was being formed. So I was like, okay, this low is being formed, and let's go to the 1 minute time frame and let's see what it gave me. So after this had happened, when you go to the 1 minute time frame, and I was actually also looking at this from the 1 minute time frame to see, okay, the entry that I got into, I wanted to see, okay, is there any built-up liquidity below that? Which there was. There was these equal lows down here, and price came back down, swept below it, and then there was a nice push to the upside, and I like that. Okay, and at this point, I was obviously still in my trade, so I liked how it looked. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to continue to stay in this trade. So that's how you would identify your high and your low in this situation. Obviously, I identified the wrong low, but like I said, that can happen in the market, and I'm not perfect. So I also will get caught in a bit of drawdown as well. So this is how initially it would look like if you were to have waited and been a little bit more patient, because there was, choppiness that did come into play right after. So this is our high and this is our low. And we see that liquidity was being built up. And like I was telling you guys in one of the videos, that price will do this thing where it creates like a compression pattern where it'll just go up kind of like this, right? We're kind of moving upwards like this. And this is kind of what this pattern was showing us. And that shows that eventually that pattern is going to take out liquidity, break structure to the downside, and we have an entry. Okay, and that's exactly what this pattern is when we really look at that, right? So we identified our high and our low, and we can clearly see that we could have took this right here as liquidity. We could have took this entire thing here as liquidity, right? But I personally would have marked my horizontal ray right here, and then you could have had a I could have had a much better entry right here. So as this was happening in real time, I'm thinking like, oh, could have had a better entry, but it's all good because my stops were definitely at this previous high, or I could have placed it higher at this previous high right here, but I had stops a little bit lower right here. So like I said, super simple trade. You could have just entered, and if you wanted more confirmation, you could have just waited for a break of structure in the 1 minute after it hit that POI, and then you could have got into it right after. And one thing I also do want to point out is on the 30-minute, after this push happened, of course, this was definitely overall, I would see GU going bullish. So it eventually did go bullish. I think after this move, like right after I TP'd, it went bullish. So we also have to remember on the higher time frame, and like I said, guys, stress the higher time frame narrative because um, it's going to tell you, or it's going to tell you and give you an idea of where exactly to TP on the lower time frame. You don't want to be stuck in a trade on the lower time frame, or you don't want to be holding a trade on the lower time frame longer. You definitely don't want to do that. You want to cut everything, okay? Even if you have to TP early sometimes, it's a lot better to do that than holding on to it, trying to hold to your TP, and then eventually you get taken out, okay? Because on the higher time frame, we see all this built up liquidity here, right? So eventually we're seeing a push down to eventually push up, and that's exactly what price did. So I knew exactly the TP right here because when we go on the 30-minute right here, it was just a simple, and a lot of times I target my TPs are, I set them to either the high or the low of the trading range, or I'll also set them to areas where it's most there's the most logic for me to set them at. So for example, I will set them at areas of break and retest just because I know that other traders are going to be getting into their positions at those areas. So those areas are very crucial, and they can be used to your benefit based on like psychology, right? So when we're looking at the 30-minute time frame, when we do go to the line chart, I would have had marked this area right here, simple break of structure. And I would expect price to come back down here potentially before we continue bullish, which I believe that it did do that. So we can go ahead and play this. Yeah, so price actually tapped it perfectly and it flew, okay, and took out all this liquidity. But this is exactly what I mean, guys. Like every little detail is super crucial in your trading. And had I not TP'd here and say like I wanted to hold longer, right? Say like my TP, I wanted to TP down here. I definitely would have would have gotten stopped out or at break even, whatever. If you held the trade, you could have ended up in a loss. So it's really important the things that you do while you're in a trade, and understanding that trade management and trade execution is super super important. So this entry, obviously I didn't get the perfect entry, but that's okay if you don't get the perfect entry. You don't have to get perfect entries all the time. We all will experience a bit of drawdown here and there, but the main thing is how you manage your trades after you're in it. So hopefully this cleared up some things when it comes to choppiness, and clarified a couple things for you guys. I know it's helping a lot of you guys doing these trade breakdowns, so I'll be sure to be making more of them. If you guys have any other questions, and you can always request for me to do a trade breakdown on something. So, all right, bye guys.